and sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
All right, top of the morning to you, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Glorious day the Lord has made, and here we are together celebrating it together. Nice to have you here. The 14th day of October, year of our Lord, 2024. Good to have you here, as I said, and lots of news to get to. A lot of great guests as well. Seamus Bruner's going to be back on the show. Our old friend Laura Carno joins us on a Tuesday edition, as she always does. Carno Tuesday. And who else? Oh, Scott Walker, that wrote the book Arabella that exposes the leftist billionaires and their money and dollars that are transforming America. And hopefully we can bring an end to that kind of funding. So good to have all of you here on the program. It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I love fall. Except when it's rainy and cold, then I don't like fall. But if you, I know we got a lot of folks in Texas, and growing up in Texas, I knew there were 4 seasons, but you really don't see the 4 seasons. If you come to Colorado, you get to see all 4 seasons, and we're in the beautiful fall season. The leaves are starting to turn. The leaves at the Lakey estate and the house of Lakey, they have not yet turned yet. There's some of the pine needles, evergreen trees starting to shed, but up in the mountains, the colors have already turned, and it is getting ready for ski season. But so far, I'm just seeing a little bit of color out there. Anyway, good to have all of you here. A beautiful time of the year, and give me about a month or so, and I will not be saying it's a beautiful time of the year. It will be winter in Colorado, and I have this rule. People say, out of state, say, oh, Colorado, you get snow, and it's beautiful. I said, yeah. When I came here from Texas 20 plus years ago to take a job in radio, I thought snow was cute. It was very cute back then, very cute. You'd walk out as a Texas boy and say, well, look at there, you got snow. That's nice. And it was beautiful. Now, 20-something years later of being in Colorado, snow is not so cute anymore, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. So, ladies and gentlemen, if by chance this winter, the good Lord willing, if you see a snow day coming to Colorado, the show the next day may be out of state, because I may haul my buttocks to the airport and get the heck out ahead of the snow. I'm just done with the snow. Thank you very much. Nice day. All right, I got that off my chest. Want to dive into some headlines, really? Well, we can do that today. We should. Top news, hostages, of course, were released yesterday. 20 hostages. The videos began to circulate and percolate yesterday of reunions happening. And that's a wonderful moment. But I also just have to remind you, keep praying for those people if you're a praying person, because I'm sure the reunion is a spike of adrenaline and a spike of happiness, but these people have seen awful and pitiful and shameful things, and they've experienced them themselves, and the transition is obviously something that is not necessarily going to be easy for them. So keep praying for them and their families in their, did I say 2025, 2024? 2026? Producer Chad just wrote, we have a private chat. It says, or 2025. And so, yes, or 2025. Whatever I said, yes, or 2025. Whatever I said. I don't know what I said. But anyway, nevertheless, pray for those people that are hostages as they reunite. I think we pointed out this yesterday, and if not, I want to point it out again. You notice that all 20 of the living hostages that were released were men? And one of the reasons that all 20 of them were all men and no women, because the women were killed by these demons. These women are some of the bodies and remains that they're still looking for. Hamas has released several of them, bodies that have been released back to Israel. The other ones, they say they're trying to find them, trying to get them, round them up. But there's a reason I suspect that they killed the women and not the men, was because they did horrific things to the women, and they did not want those tales to be told to the civilized world. So all of you jackasses that have been out there saying free Palestine or standing with Hamas, you need to know that there's a reason that there's no living women being released from your friends Hamas. There's a reason for that, is because they killed them to shut them up and silence them from telling the tales of terror that they obviously would have told. So the morning continues in Israel. as far as MOUR, in mourning, sadness. And I know it's easy to celebrate the good times and the peace deal and Donald Trump and all this stuff about all this fun stuff about Nobel Peace Prizes and stuff. But the real pain on the people that have been subjected to this is real huge, and it's massive. It's also interesting that the squad has been very, very quiet. After months and months of saying free Palestine, now you got the squad not celebrating that, quote, Palestine is free. Another thing that's interesting that I don't know where the Democrats of America stand on is that you have Palestinians, you have these people that live in the Gaza Strip that have been hiding from war and innocent victims, if you will, because of the terrorist demons in Hamas. You have them now chanting Trump, Trump, Trump. They know that Trump has brought an end to the war. You have people in Israel chanting Trump, Trump, Trump. And that really leaves the modern American Democrats really out there. Their allies, the terrorists, the demonic party of Hamas, they've been siding with them, but now the people that have been subject to the terror and the reign of Hamas are chanting Trump on the streets of Gaza. So it's very interesting. The squad has grown quiet, as the only people hating Trump right now is the American Democrat Party, jackasses like Jessica Tarloff and these commentators that stick to their talking points, and Hamas. They're the only ones right now still hating on Donald John Trump. Again, not that you ever agree 100% with anybody, but it's interesting that the people that were most vocal in support of Hamas were most quiet yesterday in the last 48, 72 hours when it comes to the ending of the war and those hostages being released and the bodies being released as well. So if you're a Democrat out there, just notice, observe the world you're in, that your party is pretty much the folks living in Gaza are chanting Trump, Israel's chanting Trump, and the American Democrats and the terrorists are going, we hate Trump, and Trump derangement syndrome. So just so you know, you got the same derangement syndrome as the terrorists do, Democrats. You really do. All right, what else do we have? There's still a shutdown going on. Headline, still a shutdown happening in Washington, D.C. The government supposedly is not working. Has anybody noticed it? I've got a friend who's a firefighter, and he on a base, a military base, and I know he's probably not expecting to get paid long term. You don't have to be back pay. I know some people that have been affected with TSA. They're probably going to be a paycheck or so off. But outside of government employees, if you're an average citizen out there, not employed by the government, that's different. But if you're an average citizen, has anybody really noticed the federal government shutdown? And I would beseech you, and I would present to you that probably not. Most of us have not noticed the shutdown. There's a headline of the Babylon Bee that the Democrats have vowed to keep the government shutdown until someone actually notices. And so far, I think the only people that have really noticed a massive government shutdown are the people that are maybe getting their paychecks every month or every so often from the government. There's the headline from the Babylon Bee. Dems vow to keep the government shut down until someone actually notices. And so far, it's still shut down because I'm not sure most people have actually noticed that. Anybody go to the airport? I travel a lot, as you know. I'm on the road a lot. And a lot of times as you go through the TSA line, I kind of think it's creepy. I never liked it when Obama, Biden, anybody did this. They have video messages. And first of all, you're not paying attention to them. You're in the TSA line. You're getting checked. You're getting pre-checked. You're about to get frisked and groped and see if you're carrying anything in certain cavities of your body. I mean, you're bound to get molested by the TSA, and there's a propaganda video from the government. Propaganda, it's supposed to be informational, right? But we live in such a partisan time that you could have a member of the Biden administration up there talking, and now we have Kristi Noem. So if you've been to airports recently, a lot of them have television monitors in the queues or in the lines for TSA, and it's a cue, hey, we're keeping America safe. If you see something, say something. Make sure you behave on the airplane, whatever. There's always some message, and I never know what she's saying. I've seen Kristi Noem as of late because obviously she's the Department of Homeland Security. I've seen her up there, and she's been talking about something. I don't know what she's saying, but what I say is, well, she's a great ambassador for America. She looks fantastic on that screen. That's all I know. I can't hear it. I'm not paying attention to it. I've got other things on my mind besides listening to the informational video by Kristi Noem puts out. Well, evidently for the government shutdown, Kristi Noem and the Department of Homeland Security put out a new video that was supposed to be aired in airports, in the security lines, and you're supposed to see them around the airports. And some airports say, no, we can't air that. We're not going to air the latest Kristi Noem video. We've aired the other ones, but we're not going to air this one. You say, why? Well, because evidently in this latest shutdown, airports have decided to shut down Kristi Noem's shutdown video because it gets a little bit political. First of all, let me ask you this. If any of you go to the airport and have seen these videos, do you have any clue what they're talking about? I mean, I can actually see. A couple of weeks ago, I was flying through St. Louis, and the line was longer than I wanted it to be. And I'm in the St. Louis line. I'm in the pre-check line, and it's longer than it needs to be. And I'm sitting there waiting for it, and I see Kristi Noem, and her mouth is moving, and I think there's sound of the television, but I didn't care. I just wondered why the line was so long. So I don't know what the message was. But now we're in the shutdown, and some major airports across America are refusing to play the video featuring DH Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem because she blames Democrats for the government shutdown. These airports are, you ready? Las Vegas, Phoenix, Seattle, Portland, Charlotte, North Carolina, Cleveland, Ohio are some of the airports. 3 airports in New York are also refusing to play the video. She says in the video, it's a 37-second video that is obtained by Fox. Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of the TSA agents are working without pay. So it's just an informational video that she puts out saying, hey, if it's slow, blame the Democrats. If it's busy and you're angry, don't be mad at these people. A lot of these folks are working without pay. The 2 Northwest airports, Seattle, Tacoma, and Portland, told Fox the reasons for not playing the video, and they say that it could be a violation of the Hatch Act and Oregon state law, which prohibits both government employees from engaging in partisan political activities on an airport property. So I have a question for you, not necessarily a question of the day, but has anybody ever watched these videos before? I've seen them, but I don't know what Kristi Noem usually says. But on this one, she says, hey, if things are slow, it's the Democrats' fault. They shut the government down. And please know a lot of these great employees of this check station, this frisking booth here, they're frisking you for free today. And you should be thankful for that free frisk. So anyway, I just throw that out there. That it's just kind of funny to write the headline that Kristi Noem's video gets shut down about the shutdown. She can't talk about the shutdown. So there is that one. On a serious note about this shutdown, there's a headline today in which Speaker Mike Johnson said this could potentially be the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Pay attention to this. This is from Just the News, John Solomon's website. Just the News says the House Speaker, current House Speaker Mike Johnson on Monday, that would be yesterday, warned Democrats that the ongoing government shutdown is on track to become the longest shutdown in American history if the Senate does not pass the House continuing resolution bill. The government entered the latest shutdown early this month after the Senate failed to pass a continuing resolution that would keep the government operational at its previous funding level until November the 21st. Again, don't forget, this is not them standing down or shutting down the government on some budget policy. This was just simply, hey, let's keep it going like we did on Joseph Poopy Pants Biden. Let's keep it going like we did since March. Let's keep it going until November the 21st. All of this battle that the Democrats have raised the heck about is all about the 21st of November, and that's what they've this should not have been a policy fight. This is a continuing resolution fight. You have the policy fight when it comes to the long-term budget implications, and this is not a long-term budget. This is simply a continuing resolution. Mike Johnson said, we're barreling toward one of the longest shutdowns in American history unless Democrats drop their partisan demands and pass a clean, strings-attached budget to reopen the government and pay our federal workers. Republicans are eager to return to work, an actual negotiating table to finish up a full-year appropriations and do the work on other matters, says Johnson. But we won't negotiate in a smoke-filled back room, and we won't negotiate as hostages. The current record is 34 days, which occurred in Donald Trump's first term in 2019, and the ongoing shutdown is on its 13th day, making it the 5th longest shutdown in history for those of you playing the home game. So, again, the question is, has anybody out there felt the effects? If you're working for the government, you may be soon missing a paycheck. If your government or your direct deposit writes your paycheck, or your direct deposit, that may affect you. But the average citizen out there, I would guess, has not necessarily felt the pain of a shutdown, which is amazing that you can have 13 days of a large bureaucracy that we fund with massive amounts of taxes, and they can pretty much be shut down for 13 days. You say, well, they've got the essential services going. well, then maybe we should look at trimming down the essential services. Here's another question I ask, kind of a rhetorical question. If no one is noticing the pain of the shutdown, and right now, they're healthcare. I don't see an epidemic of people dying in the streets. There's not incinerators to burn bodies because people are dropping dead because of healthcare. Illegal healthcare. I haven't seen a pile of illegals saying I died because of Donald Trump took away my healthcare. So the longer that this goes on, this is a rhetorical question. Give me your thoughts. Democrats say we have to have this spending. It is urgent. People will die if we don't get this spending. And now we're 13, 14, 15 days in, and they're saying it's urgent. And for most part, we're like, well, maybe it's not that urgent because people aren't dropping dead right now. So just a question out there. Does it play? I think it looks bad for the Democrats shutting this down because they're saying that it's urgent. It's a matter of life or death. And yet there's no death yet. And you're holding this whole process up because of something that you're saying is urgent. But this has, I think, been the problem in American politics, and especially the American left with their Trump derangement syndrome, is oftentimes they are crying hair on fire. They're crying wolf. They're screaming that everything's a crisis. And 13 days into the shutdown, you're going, well, maybe it's not that big a crisis after all. So again, the boy, the woman, the girls, the Maxine Waters, the Nancy Pelosi, the dollar store Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, all these people cry wolf, and yet I'm not sure most people actually are noticing it. All right, one more quick headline here I'll get to, and I've got a story coming up in the program. Doritos and Cheetos are going MAHA. Make America healthy again. They have announced a change to Doritos and Cheetos. You don't want to miss that one. And also, I have a story, very sad story. Mitt Romney's sister was found dead near a parking garage in California. Very strange headline there. Mitt Romney's sister found dead near a parking garage, and Cheetos and Doritos are going to go MAHA. And today is October the 14th. It's also known as a Charlie Kirk Remembrance Day. We'll talk more about Charlie here in just a bit. Today would have been his 32nd birthday, and there will be commemoration, I believe, in the Oval Office today on behalf of Charlie Kirk and in memory of Charlie Kirk. So everybody stay tuned for that. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. If you're new to the show, if you're listening on the streamcast later in the day, or excuse me, the podcast, don't forget Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcast, anywhere you listen to find podcasts, hit like and subscribe. And this is a great audio version as well. Some of you watch the live as well. By the end of the day, thousands of earballs will hear or see what we do here, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. But again, go like us on all the podcast platforms. It really helps us out. We appreciate it when you do. Again, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, all of the places you listen to podcasts, you can find us there. And also, wherever you're at, if you're new and you're on one of the platforms, we're on several Facebook streams going out right now. Twitter, X, Rumble, wherever, YouTube, we're on the YouTubes right now live. So wherever you're at, if you comment on the screen, on your screen, wherever you're watching it, and just say hello, let us know where you're listening from. Those pop into our studio, and producer Chad will magically make some of those appear on the air, and some of those have probably been appearing while I'm here, and I didn't even know it. So anyway, everybody comment, participate in the show. We like it when you do that. Let me jump in here. I'm overtime. I know it's hard to believe for me. He's the director of research and government of the Gov't Accountability Institute. He's written a book called Controligarchs, Exposing the Billionaire Class, Their Secret Deals, and the Globalist Plot to Dominate Your Life. It's Seamus Bruner back on the show. Seamus, welcome back in, sir. How are you?
It's great to see you. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for hopping on here. We talked about this last time, but I love that word controligarchs. We'll get to a couple of topics here at hand. But people need to copy this Controligarchs book because we need to understand that what's happening. There's these people, as Bernie Sanders say, oligarchs that really are just wanting to control our lives. And you've written a whole book about it. Let's plug the book right up front, sir.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we follow the money at the Government Accountability Institute. My colleague Peter Schweitzer and our team here. That's our motto. Well, we've followed it to the top of the political class, Clinton's, Biden's, all the rest. And so I, followed it a bit further to the elite class, who I call the controligarchs. These are people like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, many, many others. The combined personal net worth of the characters in this book tops $1 trillion. That's with a T. So larger than the GDPs of many countries. So these guys have obviously a lot of power. their agenda is for control. They want to control what you eat, what you can drive, even whether you can have a gas-powered stove or not. They want to control the temperature inside your house. There's a crazy story in the book about people, just imagine, Jimmy, waking up in the middle of the night, either freezing cold as it gets closer to winter, or it was in the middle of the summer, drenched in sweat. You go to your thermostat, you try to turn on the HVAC, and you're locked out. It sounds crazy and dystopian. It actually happened to people in Texas and in Colorado. Their so-called smart thermostats were locked by the utility companies during a power surge. So that's the kind of things coming from these people who are hyping climate alarmism. Of course, they want you in an electric vehicle that can be tracked or bricked like a cell phone, and so many other things going on in this book.
It's called Control Oligarchs. We'll come back to you where to get it, how to follow Seamus Bruner online as well. That's all coming up. Seamus, last week you made a great appearance at the White House. You were invited to a roundtable discussion at the White House by President Trump, and the roundtable discussion was about the Antifa terrorist organizations that are around the country. Talk about how did you, from the Government Accountability Institute, show up at an Antifa roundtable? What was the journey and towards that invite?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. So they wanted a guy who could follow the money. Because everybody there, all the journalists there, the brave journalists there, they're putting their lives on the line, going into places like Portland and Chicago, getting beat over the head with a pole. You had Andy Ngo there, who's gotten traumatic brain injuries from his reporting on Antifa. There was a young woman there, Katie Davenport. She had a black eye from literally getting beaten with a metal pole just the prior week. Julio Rosas, so many others. They're all on the ground reporting on this stuff. I was there as the guy who follows the money and says who is actually funding all of this chaos and civil unrest. And so it actually ties in quite nicely to the book Control Oligarchs. There's a whole chapter on George Soros and him funding the prosecutors and the bail projects and the riotous movements that are committing arson, property destruction, assaults on law enforcement, and all of the rest. And so the point is simple. If you're funding criminal activity, you shouldn't be getting tax breaks from the taxpayers. I mean, these are supposedly charities or nonprofit entities. And on top of that, they're getting all kinds of government grants. I mentioned at the White House that over $100 million in taxpayer grants from various agencies, both state and federal, have been giving money to this, what I called Riot Inc., which is an entire ecosystem of unrest.
Seamus Bruner's my guest. If you're listening only to the podcast version, we'll talk about his book here in just a moment. It's called Control Oligarchs. We'll get back to that. Seamus, I watched some of the clips from the Antifa roundtable that was there, and there was one speaker in particular that was he was an independent journalist, and I thought it was fantastic. He said, we're covering this, and he pointed, I guess, at the networks, CBS, NBC, ABC, and says, we're covering this because you won't be there. None of your cameras are there to witness it. Was that kind of an overarching theme? Was it a critique of the media? Did they focus more on the money? Was the NBC, ABC, CBS, were they actually finally paying attention? Because they've been ignoring this whole story, even the physical violence, they've been ignoring it for a long time.
No, they're not just ignoring it, Jimmy. They're actively covering it up. I mean, the talking points went out sometime last week, and you have everybody from Jimmy Kimmel to CNN to all the rest saying Antifa doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination, which is why I said in my remarks that Riot Inc. is like any other corporation. It has many divisions, including a PR and communications division. And a lot of these, people in the corporate press, mainstream press, are acting and running as a PR division. It's not because they're covering up the boots on the ground thugs who are doing the arsons and all of that. They're covering up for the funding mechanism. They can't be an organization. Antifa can't be an organization, even though it is organized, has members, receives funding, and everything that an organization you would think has, because they have the same funders. There's a whole chapter in Control Oligarchs on mainstream mind control and how these people in the press, in the mainstream media, work to control your mind and basically gaslight you is the term.
Yeah. Seamus Bruner, for these Jimmy Kimmel types, the news media that are reading the talking points put up by the publicity machines, it is Antifa and the organizations that back it. Walk us through that pathway of money, because they're saying Antifa does not exist. It's decentralized. It's just a bunch of hooligans or what have you. Walk us through where it comes from. Are these grassroots thugs on the streets calling George Soros and sending money? Is this George Soros or someone like him sending money and hiring players on the street? Walk us through the chain of custody of the money that spawns up these riotous activities on the streets of America.
Yeah, well, do you want to start at the top or at the bottom?
You tell me which is most easy for Jimmy Kimmel to understand, because evidently they think it doesn't exist. It's this doesn't exist. So we can go top up or bottom up.
Let's start at the top. Let's start at the top. So you've got NGOs and large funding networks, donor-advised funds. These are big so-called nonprofit charities. You've got Soros has 17 of them or more, all under the umbrella, the Open Society Institutes. There's another one called the Arabella Network, which has New Venture Fund, Windward Fund, Hopewell Fund. I could spend a whole segment just telling you the names of all of these dozens of funding mechanisms. But the money starts at the top. You've got George Soros. Bill Gates is a major, or was a major, financier of Arabella, the network. And the Tide Center, that's a hugely funded network. You've also got the Ford Foundation. And so you've got these big, gigantic charities. They're funded by people like Pritzker. You've actually got foreign funding coming in from one of the main foreigners funding this stuff is a Swiss billionaire named Hans-Jörg Wyss, who should not be participating in our political process. And then you've got other guys like Neville Roy Singham, who's an almost billionaire based in China, Marxist, who is pouring in tens of millions of dollars from the top. That money then funnels down from these major NGOs into other supposed charities, 501c3s. And there's a whole, I mentioned at the White House, dozens and dozens and dozens of them before you actually get to Antifa, which is the boots on the ground. And part of this ecosystem is the legal division. You've got the National Lawyers Guild, you've got the ACLU, and many other lawyer groups that are funded by this elite cash, that are there to only tell the side of the story of the poor innocent protester. They're there with cameras. The ACLU people are wearing yellow vests. And what they do is they gather exculpatory evidence, or evidence that the law enforcement are actually the aggressors. Obviously not the case, but the video might, if you were to watch a full video of an altercation, you would see some black mask, black clad Antifa thug shooting mortar shells and mortar fireworks, or, assaulting the police officers, throwing all kinds of bricks and stuff at them. And then you'll see the law enforcement reaction, which obviously I think everyone should agree is to arrest this person. And how they arrest that person who is aggressively resisting arrest, they've got to get physical with them. Well, the ACLU will just take that physical part and say, look at these officers. They're being, they're brutalizing these mostly peaceful protesters. And so that's the legal arm. Then you've got the bail projects funded by the Soros and the Arabella network types. The bail funds get these guys back out onto the streets as soon as possible. Sometimes in less than 24 hours, you get somebody who just committed arson, violent property crimes out of jail. That's why it's really always popping off in Portland, Seattle, Chicago, is because these are blue cities and blue states where they believe that you should let violent criminals out of jail with no bail. But the bail projects get them out. Those are all well funded. Then you get to Antifa itself and the other decentralized organizations like the John Brown Gun Club, the chapter of Elm Fork, Texas. That one of its members actually, allegedly, I guess, but shot an ICE officer, not the assassin, not the one who was up on the roof, but this was just one back in July. The John Brown Gun Club of Elm Fork also posted flyers on university campuses after Charlie Kirk's assassination, flyers that said, "Hey, fascist, catch," an allusion to the assassin's engraved bullet casings. And on those flyers, it said, "Join the John Brown Gun Club because we're the only organization that isn't afraid to celebrate when a Nazi is killed." So these are really, really sick individuals. I mean, nobody should be celebrating when anybody's killed. Anyway, so that's that one. You got the Socialist Rifle Association, another decentralized Antifa-like organization. How do they get their money? Well, they're not LLCs. They don't have EIN numbers. They don't get funding in the traditional method like all the other groups in this ecosystem. but they do have funding platforms. There's a couple of them I mentioned at the White House. One of them, called Open Collective, has gotten over $3 million, this platform. It's basically a GoFundMe for the radical left, and you can build your profile. So if you're Antifa of Seattle or of Chicago, you create a profile like you would a Facebook profile or any other profile on this Open Collective website. And this allows for anonymous donations to pour in. You can Venmo, Zelle, and so that's where the money trail stops for people like me. For law enforcement, they can actually peel back those layers, subpoena those records, and find out who is funding these. But it's basically a black box when you get to the funding platforms.
The name is Seamus Bruner. The name of the book is called Controligarchs. Seamus, real quick, we're going to run short on time here. You mentioned the name of one of the guys funding some of these up-level, upstream outfits, and you mentioned the name of Pritzker, who happens to be the governor of Illinois. J.B. Pritzker says his state is safe. There's no rioting. Everything's safe on the street. There's nothing to see here. Please don't send the National Guard to calm our city down. Did I hear that name right? That J.D. Pritzker has some funding going to these upstream organizations, but on the downstream level, he says there's nothing to see here and no problems. Is he actually a funder?
It's not J.B. Pritzker. The whole Pritzker family. I mean, you got Penny Pritzker, who was Obama's commerce secretary. The Pritzker family is a pretty large family in Chicago, billionaire family. So JB's just one of them, and they've got multiple foundations that they pour money into these networks. So I doubt J.B. Pritzker is managing the day-to-day of the foundation, but the Pritzker family, billionaire family, it's the Hyatt Hotel, fortune. They have been funding these radical activities for a very long time.
Yeah. As soon as I learned that, I stopped staying at Hyatt's. I used to have great international resorts, but no, don't go there anymore. You were the director of research for the Government Accountability Institute, also known as GAI. The name of your latest book is called Controligarchs: Exposing the Billionaire Class, Their Secret Deals, and the Globalist Plot to Dominate Your Life. Very important read. Congratulations, Seamus, on getting asked to the White House and the roundtable discussion on Antifa. And for the information, if folks want the Controligarchs, of course, it's on Amazon, anywhere good books are sold. If they want to follow you and or the Government Accountability Institute, where do they go?
Yeah, I'm at Seamus Bruner on all platforms. I'm mostly posting on Twitter, but that's SEAMUSBRUNER, also on Facebook, Instagram, and others. You can go to thedrilldown.com for all of our investigations, Peter Schweitzer's interviews, etc. He's got a podcast there at thedrilldown.com, and he's Peter Schweitzer on Twitter, at Peter Schweitzer.
Seamus Bruner, it's a pleasure, friend. I appreciate you hopping in here. And again, next time you're at the White House, I don't know, do you take a souvenir? Do they give you like a box of matches or something, or a napkin that you take home as a souvenir?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I wanted to go to the White House gift shop, but I was in the business side of the White House, so I didn't see the gift shop anywhere. You got to go for a tour to go to that. No gift. I did take my name badge. They said we could take that little placard. So.
Seamus Bruner, pleasure, sir. Appreciate you being on the program again. The name of the book is called Controligarchs, and if you want to understand the upstream and the downstream of how all this rioting happens and where the funding comes from, you don't want to miss this. Also, coming up on the show, he mentioned Arabella on the themes of today's show. The author of a book called Arabella, Scott Walker, going to be back on the show in just a bit. He's written a book called Arabella, The Dark Money Network of Leftist Billionaires. So between Arabella and Controligarchs, 2 books to educate yourself and recognize what's happening and these riots that are popping up across America that are Antifa and all the talking points out there. There's no real organization called Antifa. They need to read the book Controligarchs, and they'll understand. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we do every week at this time, actually 5 minutes earlier, but I'm running about 5 minutes behind schedule because my jaws just keep on moving and my voice just keeps on yapping and the time just keeps on ticking and Laura Carno just keeps on waiting. Laura Carno joins us on the stage. Laura, good morning. How are you?
I'm very patient, Jimmy.
You put up with me how many years? It's obvious you're quite patient, ma'am.
I think we're like at 10 years. I am going to go back and find our anniversary because I think we may have already passed 10 years. We may be past 10 years. 10 years. That's a long time. That's almost like a life sentence with no parole. I mean, we're in there. For you, not for me. Because I think maybe an anniversary gift would be in order.
I was thinking the same thing. I'll check the mail.
Okay, here's what I'll do before next week. I will find out our 10-year anniversary, and I'll see. I'm sure somebody's going to pop in and answer this question. I will see what, how like the 25th is gold, or whatever those things are. I'll see what 10th is. It's probably like paper or something.
I've got some aluminum foil. I think it could be. That's it. It's scarce around the house of Lakey. All right, Laura Cardinal, good to have you here on the program. How are you? Everything's good there. I see you're still homeless. I hate to see that you're still unhoused.
However, there's one of those huge heaters above my head, like the big ones you see in warehouse stores and stuff like that. So the shop will stay warm.
All right. So everybody, forget the anniversary gift. We're going to have to do a collection because we don't want Laura living down in the shelter here much longer. She's
maybe the 10th anniversary is like wool or something.
That would be it. Everybody send her a quilt. She needs quilts. That's what she needs.
We're fine. We're
all right.
Fine.
We're getting worried about you. The tornadoes didn't get you, but the frostbite might.
We're fine.
That's the problem.
Don't you worry your pretty little head, Jimmy.
Okay, yeah, sure troubles me. All right, Laura, let's dive into some news here. Some of these hostages getting released. I heard somebody say that Donald Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, not because of the hostages and the end of the war. Donald Trump deserves a peace prize because he kind of made some of the left just shut up. I mean, Hillary Clinton said it was a good job. Bill Clinton said a good job. But like AOC, some of these people kind of went very quiet after weeks and months of squawking about Hamas, etc. Give me your take on what we're watching and the criticism and non-criticism that Donald Trump sometimes and is receiving or not receiving right now.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because they've been yelling for 2 years about ceasefire now. And now we have a ceasefire, and all of a sudden there's, as you said, not a peep from them. And you got to hand it to the Clintons. And by the way, under everything, I think that Bill and Hillary Clinton hate the Obamas and they hate the Bidens. So because Mideast peace was never accomplished under either of those administrations, I think the Clintons felt pretty good about congratulating the president, and as they should. Politics shouldn't be an issue there. But Twitter was kind of hilarious yesterday because there were all of these lefties that were tweeting, and I'm just like, one of the prime examples was Elizabeth Warren. For 2 excruciating years, I've called for the return of the hostages, blah blah blah, and then people were responding and saying, hey, the thing you're missing is thank you, President Trump. And there was tons of that, not just with Elizabeth Warren, but any of these lefties who, talked about what happened with the release of the hostages and didn't mention President Trump, without whom this would not have happened. But the funniest one, Jimmy, I don't know if you saw this. I saw a screenshot and I was like, that is made up. I had to go look. So retweeting Elizabeth Warren's tweet, J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, said, "The president told me he did this on Indigenous Peoples Day in honor of you."
The trolling by Vance and Trump is it's A++.
I am telling you. But yeah, I love your Commander in Peace, Chiron there. All of the overseas papers in Israel were saying things like "Blessed are the peacemakers," and this is really historic for my entire life. And I am at an advanced age now. For my entire life, we have been trying to get Middle East peace, and Donald Trump says, "Hold my beer." Here we go, and here we have it. Now, this was phase 1. Obviously, there are more phases. Hamas needs to give up its weapons. Maybe it should stop executing their own people today for allegedly collaborating with the Israelis. That's happening. I wouldn't suggest you go look for the videos. They're kind of horrific. Yeah. They're execution style killing people in the streets. So all of that needs to stop. And there's lots, I don't trust Hamas. I'm sure nobody here does.
Yeah.
So there's lots of room to go, but this was an amazing step. And by the way, wouldn't have happened without the United States bombing the bleep out of Iran.
Yeah, that got everyone's attention. Laura, I find it interesting that you can find videos of people in Gaza that have been terrorized by their own captors or their own rulers. They're celebrating Donald Trump saved us. Donald Trump's going to stop the bombings. You got Israelis celebrating Trump. And so I don't know what the American Democrats, the American left is going to do. They've been chanting free Palestine. Those people that are now free are chanting Trump. And Israel's chanting Trump. It seems like it's only the American left and Hamas that still has some hatred for Donald Trump when it comes to this topic.
Yeah. Do you remember that old song? Because you're almost as old as me. Do you remember
Almost.
Do you remember that old song? I don't remember if it was the title or a line. I hope the Russians love their children too. And that's just been kind of going through my head that, mothers and fathers who live in the Gaza Strip want their children to have a good life. Certainly there are some religious fanatics who want their children to blow themselves up and go to heaven and have 21 virgins. But I would say that most people want their children to have a good life, a better life than they have. I think that's a human norm. And that's why I think we're seeing, people praising Trump for stopping the war, because you don't want your family members and certainly not your children killed in war. People want peace.
Yeah. I got to go find that J.D. Vance troll of Elizabeth Warren Indigenous People Day. That's fantastic.
I sent it to you. You have the link.
Okay. Oh, I have the link. Okay.
Yeah.
Laura, I have to tell you that while you and I have been yapping about things so intellectual and prolific, the chat room has been commenting, and evidently I was correct. The 10-year anniversary is actually tin or aluminum because it's a symbol of flexibility.
We have been flexible, have we?
Yeah. Not? So I'm going to go to the store. Do you want the King Soopers brand or the Kroger brand of the aluminum foil box, or do you want the brand? I'll get you the Reynolds. How about that? I'm going to go high tech.
Can we do the at Costco they have those really big industrial rolls? Yeah. Yeah, but like the restaurant rolls.
Okay.
I don't have any space for it right now, but
that's it. Evidently, I was right. I stumbled across it. It was aluminum. That's the 10-year anniversary.
And here's what I love about your listening audience and your viewing audience is I say I'm going to go look this up, but I'm sure the audience is going to come up with it more quickly than they always do.
Yeah, they haven't paid a damn bit of attention to the things that we've done solving world peace, but they figured out that it's aluminum on year 10. They don't know a damn thing about Hamas and hostages now.
They want you to give me a present. This is what I'm hearing.
Well, I'm going to Costco. You're going to hold it up and go, I got it. He went to Costco instead of he went to Jared's. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be brilliant. All right, Laura, we got to move quickly along here. Competition is always a good thing, and the cost of higher education is a bad thing. You sent me a story about competition and the cost of higher education, and maybe competition would lower the cost of higher education. Help me with this one.
Yeah. So backstory is that ever since we have had student loans for higher education, the cost of education keeps going up and up because you can just keep getting more and more money, and the universities can keep raising their prices. My friend James sent me this morning that Santa Clara School of Law, and this is published by the John Arnold Foundation. Santa Clara School of Law has published its 26-27 tuition. And historically, if you've gone to law school, there is no limit on the amount of tuition that they can charge. What Santa Clara School of Law is saying is that professional school borrowing will be capped at $50K a year. And this is after, a decade of it going up a few $1,000s every single year. Last year was $63,000. Now they're capping it at $50,000. And I think what John Arnold Foundation said, and they do research into all kinds of public policy stuff, they said, I expect many schools to copy this. To me, this is, I realize these are government loans, so it's not actual capitalism, but this is the half of the ideas of capitalism, let me say it that way, and putting some competition in the prices of higher education, and it is about dang time. All these kids that go to college and leave with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Much of that is because of inflated. I'm not talking about the underwater basket weaving degrees, but medical school, law school, stuff like that. A lot of it is because of these inflated tuition costs that lead to, Harvard having billions of dollars in endowments and all this kind of stuff. It's not necessary. Education isn't that expensive. And I think this is, again, about dang time. I'll keep following this to see, if there's actually schools that follow this process. And if we see some good competition, that would be a good thing for our country.
The voice of Faster Colorado's founder and director is Laura Carno. If you're listening on the podcast platform, of course, by the end of the day, thousands of earballs hear this, and you're on the Apple, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, all the platforms. If you're listening to the podcast, that is Laura Carno, organization fastercolorado.org. Laura, you've got 13 days remaining. Got to get to the end of the month. You're raising money with a sweepstakes campaign. Giving away some good stuff there for, coming up at the end of the month, and people can win and also donate to Faster Colorado. Give the details.
That is true. There are it's 2 guns and a side of beef. So it's a Shadow Systems pistol, a CZ Scorpion, which if you haven't seen it, you need to go to fastercolorado.org and click on the sweepstakes bar and take a look at that. And then a side of beef, it is donated by one of our supporters in Colorado who has a cattle ranch and donates a side of beef to us every year for this. And I've gotten feedback from the people who've won this in the past that said they love the beef. Our rancher, Kurt Wilson, he named he named it sweepstakes. And he texted me the other day when they were taking sweepstakes in for processing and said sweepstakes is a monster. So
wow,
big side of beef.
Producer Chad just bought a side of beef for his family, and I said, and he picked the cow himself. He branded the cow back when it was a youngster, and I said, "Did you name it?" He says, "You don't name the cow you're going to eat, but you named the cow somebody's going to eat."
Somebody named it. I did not.
Yeah.
And I also, Kurt said, "Do you?" When it was a younger cow, he said, "Do you want to see pictures?" I said, "Absolutely not."
No.
I want distance between me and my meat. I
don't want to be a first name basis with it. I just don't want to. I just moo cow. All right, Laura Carno, fastercolorado.org. They can donate. They can enter the sweepstakes. That sweepstakes is going to end very, very, very. That sweepstakes very, very quickly comes to an end. And 2 firearms and a side of beef all on the table there. And Jeff says, finally, sweepstakes you can win. Jeff, you can't win if you don't get your butt over there and enter the sweepstakes. So get your ass over there right now. All right. Fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. Man, the peanut gallery's out of control today, Laura.
They're awesome. I love the Unleashed format, not just because you can say, get your ass over there, but that there's all this interaction with
they all act like they know each other. Hey, Laura, they're all, or Loa, these people don't know each other, and they're acting like it's a class reunion of 25 years or something.
Well, they don't know each other in real life, but they know each other.
Yeah, they don't know me in real life either. I wouldn't put up with them. Just kidding. I jest. Laura Carno, it's a pleasure. Fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. Bye-bye. Laura, get a house, would you?
See ya.
Stop living homeless. So would you do that? All right. Don't forget, thousands of earballs will hear this show on all the Apple Podcast, Spotify, all the platforms out there. People watching on YouTube, Facebook's feeds everywhere right now, the Twitter. And as soon as it's over, the audio version goes out on podcast. Make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe to it on all the podcast platforms. It helps our algorithm. I can't spell algorithm, but it does help it. And ladies and gentlemen, please, ready for this? Prepare that fortunately some of you misbehaving in the chat rooms out there, people on the audio version won't know that you're doing that, and that's good. That probably saves our reputation. But thousands of earballs hear and or see this show every little day, and we appreciate all of you being a part of it, even if some of you are obnoxious, like Obnoxious Scott. That's actually his name because he recognizes he's obnoxious. All right, again, thousands of earballs will hear the program, and thank to all of you who hear and or listen to the show. All right, good to have you here. It's Lakey Unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, and here behind a microphone in front of the studio lights, and you're in front of the speakers just where you should be. That's the way the good Lord intended it today. All right, earlier moments ago, we were talking with the previous guest about the funding of these big riots on the streets. Evidently, there's a talking point that has gone out that Antifa does not exist. It's a made-up thing. You can't crack down on Antifa. It's not a real thing. Well, earlier in the program, and we're going to dive into it now. You heard the name of an organization or a group called Arabella, the dark money network of leftist billionaires secretly transforming America. And the author of that book called Arabella is Scott Walker. He's also the president of the Capital Research Center. Scott's waiting in the green room to talk about it. Scott, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. Great to be back with you.
Pleasure to have you here, sir. Arabella, one of the many, I guess, sum it up, the organizations, is that what we call it? Funneling mechanisms that are getting money ultimately down to the streets and causing rioting in Portland and Chicago and all this violence on the street. Talk about Arabella, because the media says Antifa doesn't exist. If they don't, then where's Arabella sending that money to?
Well, it is, this is the thing, because it's complicated. They like to get you confused and to obfuscate everything. So Arabella is one of the big left-wing networks that sends money across all the left, all the issue areas, all kinds of things, pretty much every state in the country. Now, I will say, to be fair to Arabella, the Tides network, which is another one of these big networks of groups that sends money every which way. Tides is probably more closely tied to the worst people on the street. But, I don't think we should give anybody in the left a free pass on this, even if you're just a person who writes pretty boring books that explain that America is the most despicable country ever created. You're contributing to this nasty atmosphere, and there's all kinds of problems, not just the people in Portland, for instance, who are trying to kill policemen, although that's really awful. So, all of the left, even the ones that aren't picking up weapons, have some moral responsibility, if not legal responsibility, for that ugliness. And it is true that Arabella is not like the ACLU. There's not a big, there's not a big headquarters, right?
Yeah.
It's more complicated than that. But if you were an honest reporter who bothered to actually look into the best stuff written about it, like Andy Ngo's book, Unmasked, on Antifa is great. James O'Keefe, back in his Project Veritas days, they had undercover agents that were literally bringing out, the training manuals for Antifa in one of the cities. And so it is, on the one hand, it is not organized as simply as the ACLU or some such, but on the other hand, it absolutely exists. It trains people. It has its leadership structure. They collaborate at times with foreign Antifa groups. So yeah, the surprise, the media is lying to you about all this.
And right in line with the media, they're getting their talking points from somewhere, and there come the late night comics that are supposed to be funny, just kind of parroting lines as if they're Rachel Maddow as opposed to being a late night comics. That's their shows fail. Now, Scott, by the way, the author of Arabella, the dark money network of leftist billionaires secretly transforming America, Scott Walker, again, the name of the book is Arabella, Arabella, and Bella, talking about the Arabella Advisory Group. And it's all detailed in the book. The White House has released names of organizations that are funding Antifa. Talk about this release of the names, and is it an exercise in futility? Does it have any legal bearing? I guess ultimately, is Arabella doing anything illegal if they're just getting money and giving it away? They're not responsible for the boots on the street, are they? What does all this mean? The names are out. What does it mean?
Well, I don't think we have definitive answers yet. It's going to be tricky in the courts. Now, as to the simple thing of, is Antifa, are there Antifa members breaking the law? Absolutely. Yeah. And again, Andy No's book does a beautiful job of naming names and describing things in his native Portland and some of the other cities like Seattle. One of the things, I think it's important to understand something like Donald Trump and the administration are very understandably trying to react to this horrible violence, right, that we've been suffering now for some years. I mean, the George Floyd thing was years ago. There's nobody who's ever really held accountable for billions of dollars in property damage and deaths. Obviously, they continue to be violent in the streets, in some places at least. So it's totally understandable the administration's working on this. But, we should remember the administration shouldn't have to be so central to this. Back in the 60s, you had, in fact, some of the same people are even connected to Antifa today who were connected to the Weather Underground and the 60s radicals back then. And certainly they were the same type of people. But, back in the 60s and 70s, even Democratic big city mayors would not tolerate that kind of violence in their streets. Crime is normally a state and local responsibility. If the mayor of Portland and the city council of Portland let the police of Portland police their streets, we would never be talking about Antifa now. So it's outrageous that the state and local folks are failing to do their job, because really the main thing the feds should be doing is like some intel work, right? Like they would have greater powers to be monitoring, social media and things like that, and providing intelligence to the local law enforcement, who would then go lock up people committing crimes in their streets. So whereas it's much harder, like, people talk about using RICO laws, the Department of Justice can use RICO laws. Well, RICO cases are not easy to bring. They typically go on for years and years. What should be happening is that the local cities are locking these people up. And while I'm glad that the administration is attempting to do something, the federal government is and its law enforcement is not designed to police every street in America, and it's not going to be an easy thing for them to achieve victories with.
The name of your book is called Arabella, the Dark Money Network of Leftist Billionaires Secretly Transforming America by Scott Walter. We can tell you where to get the book in just a moment. Real quick, for those who maybe aren't familiar or didn't hear us before, Arabella's Advisors is a dark money operation that gets money and then channels it into progressive causes through different networks, etc. But help people understand, I understand if you got a lot of money, you want to give it to philanthropy, you want to build a library, you want to build a bridge, you want to help kids in Africa, all that stuff I'm all for. Who is Arabella Advisors, and who are the people donating or giving, and what's the motivation? Are they hoping that it ends up as chaos on the street and they just want some distance between them and their money, or do they give knowing that they could be bringing some chaos here?
Well, the Arabella is a for-profit DC Beltway Bandit, PR firm kind of place. But they operate a network of nonprofits, and those nonprofits in turn create hundreds of little fake groups all over the country. Floridians for a Fair Shake, Secure Michigan Elections, yada yada. Now, where they mostly get their money is from all the billionaires you've heard of. Yes, they get Soros money. They've gotten hundreds of millions from Bill Gates, although he very recently said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I think he was trying to make a peace offering to Donald Trump with that, is my guess. Zuckerberg gives money, Reid Hoffman, plus all those billionaires with the same last name that are a problem. Foundation, right? Ford Foundation, on and on. So they give their money. And as best I can tell, their single greatest desire is to centralize power in Washington. But you're right, the bigger a mess things are at the state and local level, the more likely you are for the feds to say, well, we're going to have to step in here. But I think they want to centralize power in Washington because it's a lot easier for those billionaires to influence Washington than it is for them to influence, Poughkeepsie and Biloxi and Eugene, Oregon, and the rest.
Last question, Scott Walter. When you hear people like Jimmy Kimmel or news people or commentators on a roundtable, well, Antifa doesn't exist. It's not a real organization. What is your response? I mean, if you were on that panel with these people, Do you just want to shake them? Do you want to pop them inside the head and say, wake up? And what is your response to this blatant, I guess, lie or oversimplification by these people who just don't want Donald Trump to be right?
I would say that instead of being deranged against the president, you should work to educate yourself, because there is lots on the record evidence that Antifa certainly does exist. And you need to understand in a complicated way, and you need to understand it instead of dismissing it.
The name of your book is called Arabella, and again, it's the dark money network of leftist billionaires secretly transforming America. And if you want to be educated and have enough information to where you don't get fooled by these talking heads in media or fake comedians, you need to read books like this. It's called Arabella, the dark money network of leftist billionaires secretly transforming America. Mr. Kimmel, all of you people on MSNBC, you all ought to get a copy of the book and never talk about this topic again until you've read this book and actually have some knowledge that you obviously don't have now. Scott, if people want the book, obviously anywhere books are sold, you also are out there, I believe, and doing some great stuff through your organization. How do folks find you? How do they find the book, etc.?
Well, the book's at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere else for books. And then I'd encourage you to go to our main website, capitalresearch.org, and you can sign up for an every other week newsletter that just has the highlights of our best research. It's not a money-begging letter. And you should also go to influencewatch.org, influencewatch.org. That is our online Wikipedia of the left. You'll spend hours learning about the donors, the networks like Arabella, the unions, on and on.
Influencewatch.org. That's the website you might want to take away from here. There's other ones he mentioned, and also the book is called Arabella. Scott, thanks for hopping on the program. We appreciate Capital Research and the author of Arabella. I appreciate you being in here today, and thanks for hopping on. Appreciate you. All right, Arabella, go get a copy of that book, influencewatch.org. That's the website. Hey, I want to give you an opportunity to win something. How would you like to win something? We talked about Laura Carno having a sweepstakes. Our charity organization, Rivers Promise, is having a sweepstakes as well. If you go to win.riverspromise.org, win.riverspromise.org, you can enter to win a 2025 Ford Bronco Raptor, and it's called a Braptor. It's the Bronco meets the Raptor, which is usually the pickup truck. And let me tell you, my son and I, he was in town. We had to do some promo filming. You may see ads out there on this thing. We were out there with producer Chad doing some filming on Saturday, and this vehicle is amazing. You want to win it, and the proceeds benefit Rivers Promise. Somebody asked me, is this a split? No, this is a Rivers Promise sweepstakes. This is solely a Rivers Promise sweepstakes, and all the rules, all the guidelines there. But you can go enter. It's real simple. Win.riverspromise.org. And again, the benefit is for Rivers Promise. Win.riverspromise.org. The sweepstakes goes until December. We got a long ways to hit our goal, but somebody's going to win something. This is not one of those things that if we draw your name, oh, we didn't hit the threshold, or oh, we didn't hit the minimum. Somebody's going to win. There's a prize. It's all defined. So this is not a gimmick. This is just a fun way to participate with us. Win.riverspromise.org. Check out that Ford Bronco Raptor, also known as the Braptor. And it's an amazing vehicle. I actually drove it I've driven it a couple of times, usually just across the parking lot of the dealership where we have it on order and they're storing it, and just to film. We've done several filming shoots at it. But Saturday, my son and I went with producer Chad, and we drove it off the dealership lot to a different location, not far, but I actually got to take it out on the road. And let me tell you, I wish I could win. I'm not eligible to win. I'm affiliated, obviously, the founder of Rivers Promise. That would not be fair to draw money, but it's an amazing vehicle. And I just drove it across the street, and I was like, yeah, I feel kind of like I felt manly in this vehicle. Let me tell you, you go or register to win.riverspromise.org. If you leave the win off, just go to riverspromise.org. That's our charity website. I'm a little over a month away from heading back to Rwanda, and I'll be giving you opportunities later this week on how you can partner with us. Believe it or not, when I go in about a month, that's going to be the precursor to our Christmas trip, and we're going to be talking about school supplies, school shoes, and all the things that we do for Christmas. So just be prepared for that. I'm just going to let you know that I'm heading back over, and about a month away, a little over a month away, when I head over, as you know, I like to represent you and take gifts that you represent. If you have a sponsored child, make sure you mail those letters in. I'll deliver them personally to your kids if you want to. Family photos, they love all that stuff. But go to riverspromise.org and stand by. We'll be announcing some ways that you can partner with us in just a bit. Jimmy, do you need to live in Colorado to win the bribe? You can live in all 50 states, my friend, anywhere in America. If you're in Arkansas, if you're in Missouri, if you're in Texas, if you're in Pennsylvania, if you're in Vermont, if you're in Oregon, wherever you are, you can enter to win. And you don't have to do. And if you don't, at the end of the day, your name gets drawn and you don't win the Raptor, if you don't want the Raptor, there's a cash alternative. I mean, there's all sorts of things. It is a legal sweepstakes across America, and it's all good. So every entry that you participate with does help Rivers Promise in any state. It all works out. All right. Go there, win.riverspromise.org. All right. It's time for the meme roulette, the stolen meme section of the show. But before I do, I want to remind you about Sherry Cree, our great friend and realtor. She'll be on the show back with us Friday, and you never want to miss that. She has some interesting topics. A lot of good discussion on Friday about solar panels on a home and whether or not that's a good investment, and had nothing to do with green energy or non-green energy. It had to do with whether or not it's going to help the resale or harm the resale of your home. And we talked about that this past Friday. Always fun to talk to Sherry. But Sherry just brings that perspective, and I call it a strategy session with Sherry because she's going to help you strategize on timing, on the staging, helping get the price right. We live in a market where everybody's kind of wondering what's going to happen because the interest rates seem to be coming down. Does that mean prices are going up by the warmer weather if it keeps going and the economy keeps picking up? Are we going to have bidding wars on homes? There's a lot of kind of questions right now after the Biden administration slowed a lot of things down in Colorado. But listen, you need to have that session with Sherry, the strategy session with Sherry, and find out exactly when the best time, what the best strategy would be for you, and you plan ahead. Obviously, you may have realtors down the street or whatever, but you want a person that's going to be the very best for you, and I would encourage you to include Sherry Cree in that interview process. She wants to get top dollar for your home, and she wants you to make the right decisions along the way because she knows that your real estate, your home, has the potential to build generational wealth for you and your family. You got to play it right. And don't forget just the overall nice person she is, not just her business strategy and her acumen at the real estate market of all angles, but a portion of her proceeds, rather than just running off to the bank, she'll donate a portion of her proceeds out of her pocket to the charity of your choice. She also, if you're a veteran, if you're a military active duties, she will work with you every way she can and even discount her commission to make that home more accessible to you. And also, don't forget, she talked about this Friday, if you are a caretaker, maybe you have a spouse or a loved one that's aging and you have to be a caretaker for them in any way, she wants to help you find the right house, and she can the right piece of property so that they can stay at home as long as possible. So homeswithsherry.com. You owe it to yourself, your family, and to future generations. That's how serious it is when it comes to generational wealth. You owe it to everybody to at least have that conversation. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. It's on the screen. Reach out to her, make that conversation, have a phone call, have a cup of coffee, whatever the case may be, and get ready to make your real estate dreams come true. Homeswithsherry.com. All right, now it's time. Appearing from off stage, right onto stage, because we're high tech like that. It's time for the ready? Stolen memes section of the show. We steal memes from around the world. And here we go. You ready? Everybody, prepare your hearts. Here we go. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Oh, there's old Greta Thunberg with her bad haircut. We need to stop the war in Gaza. And Donald Trump says, just did. How dare you? There's Greta. She ain't never happy, is she? Oh, Greta's never happy. Hey, if that war ends, she was all the climate change. Everything's going to melt in like 5 or 6 years. And it didn't. So now she had to pick up another grievance, which is the war in Gaza. Is there a betting line in Vegas as to what Greta's newest grievance is going to be? There should be a Greta's grievance. She's going to have a new grievance, a new way to make publicity and get bad haircuts. So she went from climate change to Gaza, and both of those have either ended or been proven fraudulent. So anyway, if anybody's got an idea what Greta's next grievance is, we'd love to hear from you on that. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Babylon B says people who have been calling for ceasefire for 2 years now denounce the ceasefire, or they're very silent. Free Palestine, free Donald Trump. I did. This ceasefire must end. It's gotta end. Stop it. Start the genocide again. We got to get back here. Greta's got to get bored real soon. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. back to the government shutdown. If the government shutdown continues, Pfizer could lay off 200 members of Congress soon. That's true. Congress members are going to get laid off real soon if we don't get this this government opened up. Right around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I love this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to just read it as it is. Don't blame me for the foul language. Notice who that is. If you're listening on the audio portion of the show, you got to come see this. Or maybe we'll post it up. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Chief Lying Bitch of the MAHA tribe. Just look at that photo. That's like Nancy Pelosi's nightstand. The MAHA tribe. There we have it. That right there is an image that you should have with you the rest of the day. That may be one of the most beautiful images that I've ever seen created, and very accurate. She should have to wear, all these people should have to wear the patches of all the people that they are sponsored by. And Pfizer would probably be one of the big ones there, and other pharma companies that help out the MAHA tribe. You know, they gotta help the MAHA tribe. And I wonder if that's what she wore yesterday for Indigenous People Day. That could be what she wore. Elizabeth Warren may have been her Indigenous people costume. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have. Don't judge me. That's funny. Don't judge me. That's funny. A couple of comments I've seen come in. I mentioned these people act like family in the chat room, where Lois says, I think we've become like a little family, huh? Yeah, very dysfunction family, like the Addams family, the Munsters. That's what you people act like sometimes. Scott says this. Scott says, Jimmy, I remember shaking my head when Fort Collins made boobs legal to display in public. If you didn't know, you can let your chesticles hang out in Fort Collins. It's legal in Fort Collins, Colorado, that your chesticles can be on display if you're a female. But now Portland is allowing demonstrators to go full nude. I got a question on this. You see, they're riding down the bicycle. First of all, I don't care what you're protesting. Riding a bicycle naked does not seem like a pleasant experience. Now, maybe if you have the full banana seat like you did as a kid and you get support for everything, but riding naked on a bicycle does not seem to be pleasant. I've not tried it. I would not recommend you try it. If anybody's ridden a bicycle naked, feel free to let us know. But let me ask you, if you're going to protest, and we're going to really protest, what were they protesting? ICE, I think. We're going to protest ICE and the illegals, right? We're going to protest it. The ICE deporting the illegals. How are we going to protest it? How are we going to prove our point? We're going to get naked and ride a bicycle down the street. Is there anybody that could tell me, how that benefits the cause? I don't know. Ray says Portland has a naked bike ride every year. Well, they had one this weekend, and be very cautious. You sometimes go to hotels or something, and they'll let you in downtown. You can rent a bike from us, or I ride in the neighborhood. I'm not any bicycle, whether it's a used bike. If you're in Portland, you better just buy a brand new bike. Don't be borrowing from the hotels or from the Airbnb. You don't know where that bike's been. Yeah, you don't know where that bike's been. I just don't understand the point of a naked bike ride, because everybody say, well, it brings attention to the cause. No, we're all talking about these fat butts riding their bicycles naked and burying that bicycle somewhere up in a crevice of their body that has to be taken up by TSA next time they're at the airport. I don't get it. It does nothing to advance the cause. And then you got all these illegal criminals over here, and they came over here probably, a lot of these illegals did come. They wanted a better life, better job. They wanted to get out of the hellholes that they lived in. And you probably would have come here as well. And they're like, wait, the people fighting for me are riding their bicycle naked? Huh. How did I end up on their side? I just wanted to bring my kids over here and have a good time, a good life. So it's weird. If somebody can explain how a naked bike ride promotes the cause or causes ICE to leave a city, I don't know. But the naked bike ride, I don't get it. So it's kind of like you have a walkathon or a jogathon for a fundraiser sometimes in school or so. You do those kind of things. Those are all nice. So walkathon, jogathon, whatever the case may be, they're wonderful things to do. But you add nothing to it by having a naked bike-a-thon. It's just, there's no point to that. And it sounds extremely, extremely uncomfortable. Stacy says naked bike riding might be cooler with fresh air. Joking. Well, you definitely would get the breeze there. You surely would. You'd definitely air some things out, if you know what I mean. But the comfortability overall, I'm thinking, if your job and your point is to get some air there, go sit on the fan at your house. I don't know. I don't want to paint an image, but get on all fours and let the fan area out there. Riding a bicycle is not the best way to air out the ventilation system there. It's just not the best way. Jeff says Neil's fuzzy underwear maybe could make the transition to a fuzzy bike seat. Yeah, you better have a plastic bike seat too, so you can wipe that thing down after you sweating all over it. Anyway, I was going to have breakfast after the show, but I don't think I will, producer Chad. Delilah, don't make the scrambled eggs. I think I'm done for the day of eating, picturing this. Ladies and gentlemen, I got it. No, seriously. If your goal is airflow, there's ways to get airflow down there without hopping on a bicycle seat naked. Yeah. All right. We're not going to illustrate the ways to get airflow there, but I don't care. Find a way, but don't ride a bicycle naked. And it does nothing for your cause. You're an idiot and you live in Portland. God bless you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to wrap the show up. It's a pleasure to be here. Don't forget Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Also, don't forget our charity work, riverspromise.org. Riverspromise.org. I'll be heading over there in just over a month, and I'll be giving you some opportunities about that. I do want to remind you today, October the 14th, would have been the 32nd birthday of Charlie Kirk. Would you say a prayer for Erica? Would you say a prayer today for Turning Point USA? I believe it's been declared a National Day of Remembrance for Charlie, October the 14th. And also, and my understanding is there's going to be a commemoration in the Oval Office and in the White House. So today, would everybody have a moment of silence, a moment of reflection on the great American, the great patriot, and now martyr for his faith, Charlie Kirk. We lost him just over a month ago, and Charlie Kirk today would have been his 32nd birthday. So please say a prayer for Erica, his widow, his two beautiful children, and for the Turning Point USA Today organization, and for all of those people that have picked up the torch of Charlie Kirk since his assassination and his martyrdom, and they picked it up, and they're starting their campus clubs, or they're starting to answer questions, and they're starting to feel emboldened to carry on the legacy. Don't just pray for Erica, don't just pray for Turning Point, but pray for all of those people who have decided in the last month to all become Charlie Kirk. A lot of people chanted, "We are all Charlie Kirk." They did that about a month ago. Pray for all of those folks that did that. Pray for our country, but pray for all those people that continue to pick up the mantle the torch that Charlie left behind. Happy or sad, but have a blessed Remembrance Day for Charlie Kirk. I am Jimmy Lakey. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'll see you tomorrow morning. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.